Good morning from San Diego, California, and this is our third attempt at overlanding Baja, and stuff's falling all over the cab already.
Plans for today involve making a big push down the peninsula, and once we get across the US-Mexico border, we are going to share tips with you about planning your trip to Baja.
Buenos días, señor.
Tiene que pasar a la oficina a registrarse.
They checked our registration, but they did not go inside the camper, and we have the green light to head into Mexico. Well, I hope you enjoyed that montage. It's always fun playing with music and clips. So, we've done this a lot in our travels. The purpose here is to entertain and to educate. I think that's the best of both worlds. So as we travel Baja in these videos, we are going to have fun and share little tidbits that we have picked up in our years of traveling this area.
As you probably gathered from the title of this video, today we're going to talk about planning your vacation or trip down to Baja. And to kick that topic off, let's talk about vehicles. Is it necessary to have 4x4? And the answer would be no. You can come down here in anything, a motorcycle, a Class A trailer, a cab over camper, an expedition vehicle like ours. It really doesn't matter. Some ground clearance will get you a little farther than just a traditional vehicle. And then if you do have 4x4, there are some places that you can access that otherwise are limited to people without that. But do not let it deter you from coming down here if you don't have four-wheel drive.
Staying on the subject of vehicles, you're going to want to make sure your vehicle is prepared. Give it a fresh oil change. Check the tire pressure. If there's special parts that you need, for example, filters, make sure to carry them. But this is, I'm going to call it a bit of a land of adventure, so you want to be prepared for whatever the journey may throw at you.
Another thing to consider as you prepare your vehicle is what to have in it in the event of those unforeseen things life throws at you. So some flares, a first aid kit, a tow rope, shovel, maybe some version of a max track, especially if you're going to head down some dirt roads. Whatever you think you might need to get yourself or your vehicle out of a sticky situation, whatever you might need in case someone gets injured.
Now, for some of the not so fun stuff like paperwork and documentation, you need a passport to visit Mexico and to get back into the United States. You also need insurance for your vehicle because your stateside insurance is not valid down here. Insurance is a big one. You can get daily plans, weekly plans, monthly plans, or 6-month plans. Obviously, the way life goes, everything gets cheaper with the larger plan. So we opted in this case for a 6-month plan.
All right, in addition to passports and vehicle insurance, you are going to need to do some other paperwork, including an FMM. This is the equivalent of a visa for you to be here while you're traveling. It's something that can be purchased ahead of time online. You print it out, bring it with you to the border. You have to go inside, have them stamp it, and if you don't have that done at this time, it can invalidate your vehicle insurance. This is something a little bit new. It used to be you could come to Baja Norte and you didn't need an FMM. So be sure that you go ahead and do one of those now because it's required for all parts of Mexico. Second thing that you might need is a TIP, temporary import permit. This is for your vehicle. If you are going to be going to mainland Mexico, you will need one. It's not required for the Baja, but do consider that you can take a ferry across from Baja to mainland Mexico. And if you plan to do that, you should arrange for a tip in advance of your trip.
Well, this is our first trip down the Baja California Peninsula without a four-legged friend. You know, we are dog people. I think most of you know that by now. And this is traveling in Baja, a dog's life. You know, there's no leash laws, there's open lands, beaches, lots of swimming opportunities. It's not without hazards. You want to make sure your dog is up to date on all vaccinations. Very specific rabies, that's a big one. And you will also find stray dogs. You know, you're in a foreign country. Every land is a little bit different. And that may pose interesting situations because you never know how dogs are going to behave when they meet each other. And finally, let's talk about health certificates. For many decades, Canada and Mexico travel, they always say you need a health certificate for your dog. Well, you know, we in all those years have never been asked for health certificates, and we got one the first time and then just stopped getting them all together. But now officially they have said you do not need a health certificate for your pet.
Next up on things to prepare for a trip to Baja, your credit cards and money. So ideally you get a credit card that does not charge transaction fees. Most cards, debit cards or credit cards that you get from your regular bank will charge fees. Credit cards like Chase Sapphire and some of those travel credit cards, you can find ones without foreign transaction fees, and that's what you want to avoid. We also have friends who travel extensively and have Charles Schwab bank accounts with debit cards, and our understanding is at the end of each month, Charles Schwab charges back all of your foreign transaction fees, so you get them refunded at the end of each month. So that's an option too if you're going to be traveling extensively in foreign countries.
Switching from plastic to good old-fashioned cash, Mexico's currency is called the peso. Give or take, the exchange rate is somewhere around 18 pesos to $1. It fluctuates with the markets, but the dollar does go a long way down here. You know, you could think it is a totally cash environment, but you would be shocked. You could use your credit card in a lot of places. But a lot of the small campgrounds will not have credit card machines. Restaurants, you're pretty darn safe with credit card machines. Now, where do you get your cash? Well, you can get it stateside. Almost any town nearby the border is going to have pesos. Just call ahead to the banks so you're not spending a whole day bouncing around trying to run that one errand. Or the alternative that we always do, and that is to just hit an ATM once you cross the border. ATMs are very plentiful down here. We tend to have difficulties going to the banks because it's hit or miss whether your card is going to work there. But we've always had great luck going to ATMs in grocery stores, such as the Cali Max. And one good thing about that is the fact that there's usually ATMs from 2 different banks in the grocery store. So if one is not working, you have a fallback.
Next on the list, will my cell phone work while I'm in Mexico? And yes, it will. One of the benefits of having a US cell phone plan is that most of the companies in our country have wised up to providing service in our neighboring countries, Mexico and Canada. So you come here and your phone works just like it does at home. Typically, the unlimited plans actually include Mexico and Canada. If you don't have one of those plans, They do have options for pay as you go by the day, but truthfully, just upgrading to an unlimited option ends up being more financially feasible. One thing to be aware of when you do come down here or to Canada, even if you have an unlimited plan, they will typically limit your data to 1 to 3 gigabytes per day. Now, if you're not streaming video or like us uploading video, that's not going to be a problem. You can be on your social media and check your emails and never have an issue. But just be forewarned, if you go over that limit, they will deprioritize you for a 24-hour period, and then the next day you can have another 1 to 3 gigs. Otherwise, come on down because your phone's going to work just like it does at home.
On the thought of cell phone service, you do have pretty decent service down here. I would almost equate it very much to like the service you would experience on the Alaska Highway. You're going to have towns that are going to have amazing cell phone service, but there are going to be gaps through the rural sections. There are methods of communication. There's GPS messaging. That is something we're looking forward to getting. And also a good old-fashioned CB radio can come in handy. Do you need to speak Spanish to visit Mexico? No, we don't. We do know a little bit from our tenure in Southern California and our travels, but no, you do not need to be fluent in the language. Learn a few key phrases. If you're within cell phone service, Google Translate is a great resource. There are fancy little devices, if it is that much of a concern, that you can speak into, and it will then repeat back out. But in the end, a lot can be done with hand gestures and a good old-fashioned smile.
Another thing on people's minds when they consider coming south of the border is safety. And typically what we tell people is you follow the same principles as you would while traveling anywhere else. Try to limit your driving at night, be aware of your surroundings, spread your money out, know where you're going. Simple things like that could go a long ways towards keeping you safe in any travel environment. And in our years of experience in traveling down here, we've never felt any less safe than we do anywhere in our home country. So don't let that be something that prevents you from coming to experience this beautiful and amazing destination.
So when's the best time of year to travel Baja California, Mexico? Well, that depends, because Baja is in the desert and it's at a very low latitude. So the summer months can be very hot and some places can be very humid. But there is a gem on the north and Pacific side of Baja. The Pacific is a very cold creature when compared to the Atlantic. So you can pretty much beat the heat all year around on this northern stretch of Baja right along the Pacific side. Well, how much time do you need to visit Baja California, Mexico? The obvious answer is going to be more time the better, but you could do short trips on weekends and have a blast. I did those for many years. You can also do 1 to 2 week trips. But if you have the opportunity to spend 1, 2, 3, 4 months or an entire winter down here, you will not regret it.
A couple of additional thoughts as you plan your time down here is number 1, don't overplan. You don't have to be Clark Griswold. Just realize that this is much of a state of mind as it is a destination, and you hear us say that pretty often. But let the road dictate. Give a general idea of I want to hit these places while we're in Baja, and then allow for time to explore the little hidden gems that you find along the way, because they are everywhere. Secondly, factor in that you are going to be driving what we call Baja miles. So that means that you're not driving on a big 6-lane freeway. Very often you're on a 2-lane, very narrow road, sometimes without the best markings, and it's gonna take you a little longer. You're gonna drive a little slower. You're not gonna be able to drive 100 miles every 2 hours. So you wanna allow a little extra time to get to your destination, especially if you're driving a big motorhome or a big truck, something of that nature.
Can you travel by yourself, or do you have to be in a caravan? Well, we're by ourselves right now, and we're gonna have to kind of get used to that as we adventure our way around the globe all in due time. But caravans are fun. Some key things about caravans, and I got somebody passing recklessly, coming head on. Yeah, them Baja miles. But yeah, caravans are fun. You can organize them ahead of time or meet people along the way. I love those organic ones, like we met Joe and Sonia on our last trip. But the one main thing is to make sure everybody has a similar capable vehicle, because our big old Class A motorhome could not go to the places that this truck will, and you want to stay together and have fun together. That's the entire reason for caravanning.
Let's talk a little bit about camping options when you're down here in Baja. The diversity is pretty significant. You're going to find everything from parking lots to really spectacular, special, wild camping destinations that you can find on Overlander, all the way up to the fancy resorts with full hookups and all of the amenities. It really just depends on what kind of trip you want to create while you're here. In terms of resources, I mentioned Overlander. That is probably our favorite app to use. We also carry with us the Camping Mexico's Baja by the Churches. You can get that book on Amazon, and we've carried it with us for each of the trips we've had down here. Really handy in finding destinations and places to stay. A lot of times we just kind of fly by the seat of our pants. There's not a lot of restriction down here. If you find a beautiful place on a beach that you really like, odds are you can probably stay there, or it's a little camp that you pay a few bucks to stay the night.
Final thoughts on camping and, well, just say tourism type of activities. You do not always need to make reservations. At least at this time, it is not that crowded down here. If your schedule is fixed and dictates, make the reservations. But if it does not, leave room for the spontaneous stuff like, hey, I want to stay here for an extra 2 days.
Anytime you travel internationally, you've got to think about personal health. So first off, be sure to bring your meds with you from the States, but know that pharmacies are abundant and you can find most anything you need down here. Secondly, there are no special vaccinations that you need to come to the Baja. Whatever you've had at home is typically sufficient. Dengue fever and Zika virus are pretty common over on mainland Mexico, but not something that you need to worry about when coming just to the Baja. And lastly, maybe most importantly, consider getting a script from your doctor for traveler's diarrhea. We've never actually had to use antibiotics for any of our trips to Mexico, but it never hurts to be well prepared. And that's something that if you are considerate of your water resources, probably won't be an issue for you.
You can find healthcare down here, and when compared to the United States, it is very reasonable. But you want to make sure that your health insurance does cover you if there is a catastrophic event. And you also want to look into evacuation insurance, because that will cost you an arm and a leg if you didn't lose those in your accident. But if you go to your auto insurance policy, you will find that most of those have the option of including evacuation.
Well, it's getting to be lunchtime in our neck of the woods. We're getting hungry, so we're going to talk about food. What we recommend is stock up on a few of your favorite things that you just can't live without from the States, and then save your grocery shopping from Mexico. It's cheaper down here. They have fantastic grocery stores and mercados to check out. Have a little bit of fun with it when you do go shopping. Be creative, experiment, try new things. We try something new every time we go to the store. And also, it's really easy to budget for eating out once a day down here without breaking the bank. It's a fun way to experience the culture and to try new foods, so be sure to plan on that as well.
We're going to take this opportunity to get some fuel. Supposedly, all the diesel here in Baja is now ultra low sulfur. So that should not, I say should not be an issue, and you can pretty much find gasoline everywhere.
We're making really good time. We are just a little south of San Quintin. Once we got past the hustle and bustle of that area, we thought we'd stop for some lunch. So we just ordered the especial for the day. And got the rig right here where we can watch it. So we're happy to be in Mexico and excited that this journey is finally starting.
Lunch has arrived, and many places you need to dress your own tacos. which works out just fine for me. Onions, cilantro, tomato, stick a slice of avocado in there. And this is the good stuff, guys. Nice little Toyota ahead of us.
Yeah.
Surfboards, packed for a good time. Welcome to Bahia De Los Angeles on the eastern side of the Baja Peninsula, and that is the Sea of Cortez. It has been a very long day. It's 5:40 p.m. I believe we were pretty much on the road around 6. We also almost went against our own, good advice, and it's getting dark. So we do not recommend driving at night here in Baja because there's cattle on the road, there's various challenges. And I'm not saying we're better or exceptions, but we had a lot of ground to cover, so we can just get down south and start this little adventure. But also for this stop, we know exactly where we are going. We know there's a campground down here that we'd like to stay at. We know we have friends that have a little restaurant. We know there's a little motel that has margaritas and a swimming pool. And look at this. We made it in time. It is not dark yet. Welcome back to Bay of LA, honey.
Yay! After 3 years, we've finally made it back here again. I'm really excited.
I wonder if they have cell phone service now after all these years. Nope, no service. Hey, that's not a bad thing.
No, it's good to unplug every once in a while. They still have Wi-Fi.
Well, if you've been following us for over 3 years, you might remember our friends Anna and Mencia. They have a little mercado and little restaurant called Mariscos Bahia de Los Angeles. Good people. It's going to be nice to see them again. I just love this little town. No cell phone service is so refreshing. Hey! Good to see you guys.
Well, it's always good to see friends after a few years. The kids are taller and we still don't speak enough Spanish and they speak very little English, but we still enjoy one another's company. And we'll definitely head back over there tomorrow to hang out a little bit more. We kind of cut the evening short tonight because it is getting dark and we need to go find our campsite. We're gonna head out to Playa La Gringa, which is north of town. So we're looking forward to waking up to the water outside of our window tomorrow morning after a really good night's sleep because we are exhausted after 12 hours on the road. Tonight, this is turning into a learn by doing video. Earlier today, we told you don't wait until after dark to set up camp. And that's exactly what we're doing tonight. We're driving down a dirt road to a beach that we know roughly where it is, but this would have been a whole lot easier in the daylight. So prime example of why we make that recommendation.
Well, we made it and the campsite is perfectly level. Waterfront as well, but we knew we were getting into that. It is breezy tonight, but we are literally right on the water. That is the high tide line right there.
It feels really good to be by the ocean again. You can feel it, smell it, taste it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it in the morning. If you are too, hit that subscribe button so you can see our next video. This is the first day of a 5-week journey on the Baja.